Hello. So I'm in a largely carnivorous wood in Shropshire, really close to the Welsh border, so I've actually come over into England, and this is a really big evergreen wood, and I've probably gone about a mile, 1.6 kilometers off some of the main walking tracks. But it's amazing just how much sound travels and reverberates around woods. So I can hear birds and animals, but I can also hear a group of children with their parents probably getting closer and closer, so I'm trying to move further and further away from that. What I want to try and do is test or fire up my OneTigris firebox. I want to try and do that, see how quickly I can get it burning, and see what I can do. And I just want to do a bit more cinematography, really, a bit more photography, just experiment with some shots and just take in the ambience and the atmosphere of the woods. Whenever I come into woods, I do try and get off the paths. So when I find a suitable space, i.e. when I can't hear anyone, we'll give it a go, even though someone's camped here. You can see, because there's charred wood around. There's also a bit of rubbish here, which I think is awful. If you're going to camp anywhere in the wilderness, or if you're going to light fires, or you have to be responsible. You have to be responsible, and you have to make 100% sure that no one knows you've been there, because that's the point. You leave no trace. So I'm going to go a little bit further into the woods. So pine wood, redwood pine, I'm only picking twigs up from the floor, and I know that they're quite, I wouldn't say damp, but they're certainly not dry, like bone dry, obviously, because they've been on the floor. But it's really good for burning small fires, especially in fireboxes and my Biolite camp stove, because it's like you've got this really small, almost like kindling style twigs, branches. Breaks really easily. It's not very dense. Burns quickly, but it's enough to get a fire started. So you can literally just pick up, or I literally just pick up bits off the floor, and you can create a nice pile of firewood really quickly. And I think the one good thing about these stoves is that they're so small, and you'll see in a minute, you can burn stuff to ash. It doesn't settle on the floor, and you can clean it up really quickly, and no one will ever know you've been using it. So normally, before I attempt anything like this, or I do sort of extended stays like in the woods, where I'll sit for a few hours or something, or take some photos, or make a cup of tea or something like that in the silence, peace and tranquility of the woods. Before I sort of commit to a space, I'll sit here and do not very much for about an hour, and just size up how many people walk past, or if anyone kind of picks up on the fact that I'm here. So I've been here for about an hour now, and I haven't seen a soul, and I haven't heard a soul. I haven't even heard dogs or anything like that. There were some children over there in the distance, but noise tends to travel through the trees and kind of reverberate through the trees, and they're often a bit further away than you think. But I think we're cool here, and I'm just going to put together a very small, just a very small fire in my firebox, and then make sure it's completely gone when I finish, and we'll kind of walk through that as well. But give me a chance to have a drink, have a cup of tea, and take in the silence of the woods. So a couple of things I always like to have with me: some water, something to obviously light the fire with. In this case, I've just got a stormproof lighter. I do have like fire sticks and fire starters, and now I've got some fuel, just something to start the fire. These are beeswax jute twine fire starters, so they're basically twine soaked in beeswax. Beeswax is a nice fuel, and it kind of burns really slowly, which is really good. And I'll only really need 2 of those maybe. They're great. I've got a whole bag of those, but I only need 1 or 2. I normally take a handful with me whenever I go camping, and I think I'm gonna start a fire. They're not so good to light with flint and fire starters, but they're better to light with a lighter. Okay, this is an aerosol gas lighter, so I just make sure I fill it up, and you can get them from petrol stations and the gas refills, and they're really quick and easy to refill. The bottom. This is the OneTigris firebox stove. What I like about this, so fits in the palm of your hand. It's really small, really thin. It's about 0.4 millimeters thick. Been introduced to this brand, and I'm looking at some of the tents that they sell. Some of the hot winter tents, camping tents. So it comes in bits and pieces. So you've got your pan holders at the top. You've got your base. This is where all of your fuel will sit, and obviously you need a space underneath to allow the oxygen to get to the inside of the fire. This is kind of plasma cut aluminium, so it's quite light. Okay, there we go. I'm just going to pop these on top. No, I'm going to put them, you can put them that way, it depends how high you want your pan from the fire. There we go. And now we're ready to get started. So I'm just going to load in bit of this. It'll burn down quite nicely. And I think the good thing about this as well is that for like a more continual fuel, you can put things in the side there as well and just kind of leave them hanging, and they'll burn. As you can see, getting that started really quickly. Those beeswax sticks, obviously wood like this is quite damp, so might take a little bit of time to get it started properly, but we just keep piling in the sticks. Eventually they'll take. Here we go, starting to take properly now. So we're burning really, really well now, and that would be a couple more seconds and I'd load that up with a little bit more firewood and I'd be able to boil my water on that. Good thing about that is that I'm not touching the ground. There's a plate stopping the ground from burning or the fire from catching anymore. And when it's done, pack it away, pour a bit of water on it, and back in the fireproof bag. And that was literally 60 seconds to 2 minutes. Well, I wouldn't really call that a review as such. A lot of this is just me documenting some of the things that I'm doing, and that was a little gadget that I recently got because it's such a quick way of making fire and doing it in a controlled way. Anywhere really. They're great for beaches and open spaces. I wouldn't really do it kind of in a more busy environment. I'd probably use a camp stove in that case, but definitely really good for kind of wild camping, which is what it's all about, isn't it? It's the same concept as the Biolite stove that I have, the Camp Stove 2, which I've used extensively, and whereas you're burning twigs and sticks and things like that. And if in some cases the Biolite stove is just as compact in terms of its footprint, not in terms of carrying it around, and it's probably a little bit more contained when it's on the ground. And obviously the beauty of the Biolite stove is that it generates energy and you can charge your devices from it, but I don't really need to do that unless I'm charging my GoPro camera. I don't really need to do that. And the problem with the Biolite stove is that it's about 1.2 or 1.3 kilograms, so it weighs a lot more because you've got that battery and those heating elements. So the Biolite stove is great if you need that energy, if you need to kind of create. And it's such a good concept as a designer myself, and as a trained designer with a product design degree. It's just one of those kinds of products that there's just so much good about it. But this firebox, and there are lots of different versions on the market, but this particular firebox I really like because it's so thin. It fits into the kind of laptop compartment of my backpack. It's only, the size of the palm of my hand, 15 centimeters footprint, and you can put it up so quickly, chuck twigs in it, and it just, just making sure that, because the thing is I'm trying to get back onto the path now. There we go. So we've got the tree, the bent, the snapped tree. These are all kind of waypoints for me that I always keep an eye on, and I know to get back to where I need to be going south southwest. Okay, got a shelter here. Someone's built.